What would you do if your husband brought his mistress to your funeral? 300 people watched in horror as Tyler Montgomery walked into his pregnant wife's memorial service with another woman on his arm. She wore red, not burgundy, not wine, bright blood red. His wife Rachel was not even cold in her casket, but here is what nobody knew. Rachel Montgomery was standing at the back of that church, very much alive, watching her own funeral through dark sunglasses. 3 weeks earlier, her husband had tried to kill her on a mountain road. He accelerated toward a cliff. She grabbed the wheel. She survived. And then she planned her revenge. She discovered his 2-year affair. She found $180,000 in hidden gambling debts. She uncovered a forged life insurance policy worth $500,000. Her signature. Faked her death. Planned, but Rachel did not run. She did not hide. She built a trap. And when that lawyer stood up at her funeral to read her will, every secret came flooding out. The affairs, the fraud, the first wife everyone thought was dead. This is the story of a woman who could not escape her marriage alive. So she faked her death and destroyed her husband from beyond the grave. Stay with me until the end. I promise you, the justice she delivers will leave you breathless. Value statement. This story carries a powerful message for anyone who has ever felt trapped, silenced, or powerless. You are not crazy. You are not alone. And even when every door seems locked, there is always a way to fight back. Rachel's journey teaches us 3 critical lessons. First, document everything. Your evidence is your power. Second, find your allies. You cannot win alone, but you do not have to. Third, survival is victory. Stay alive long enough to change your circumstances. If you or someone you love is facing manipulation, abuse, or betrayal, this story is proof that justice is possible. Not easy, not quick, but possible. 300 people packed into St. Matthew's Church on that October morning. The pews were filled with coworkers, neighbors, distant relatives, and friends who dabbed at their eyes with tissues. White lilies lined the altar, their heavy fragrance mixing with the smell of polished wood and old hymnals. A mahogany casket sat at the front of the church, closed and covered with roses. Everyone was there to mourn Rachel Montgomery. Everyone except Rachel Montgomery herself. She stood at the back of the church, hidden behind a pillar, wearing a black wig and oversized sunglasses. Her hands trembled as they rested on her pregnant belly. 8 months along now. The baby kicked, as if sensing her mother's racing heart. Rachel watched as mourners filed past her casket. She watched her mother collapse into her father's arms. She watched her brother Marcus wipe tears from his eyes, while his wife, Teresa, rubbed his back. And then she watched the church doors open one final time. Tyler Montgomery walked in wearing a $3,000 suit. His salt and pepper hair was perfectly styled. His jaw was clean-shaven. He looked like a man arriving at a charity gala, not his pregnant wife's funeral. But he was not alone. A woman walked beside him. She was young, maybe 29, with dark hair cascading over bare shoulders. She was beautiful in the way that made other women feel inadequate. And she was wearing red. Not burgundy, not wine, not any shade that could be excused as a mistake. Bright, arterial red, the color of blood, the color of passion at a place of mourning, the color of disrespect so profound it bordered on violence. The whispers began immediately. That is his mistress, at his pregnant wife's funeral. Rachel is not even cold in the ground. How dare he bring her here? Rachel pressed her back against the cold stone pillar. Her hands shook. Her breath came in short gasps. But she did not cry. She had run out of tears 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago, when her husband tried to kill her. He thinks I am in that casket, Rachel thought. He thinks he won. He is wrong. She watched Tyler guide the woman in red down the center aisle. He nodded at acquaintances. He offered small, sad smiles. He played the grieving widower with the skill of a man who had practiced in the mirror. They sat in the front row, the row reserved for family. Rachel's brother Marcus turned to look at them. His face went from grief to confusion to rage in the span of 3 seconds. Teresa grabbed his arm before he could stand. "Not here," Teresa whispered. "Not now." Rachel silently thanked her sister-in-law. The time for confrontation would come, but not yet, not until everything was in place. She touched her belly again, felt her daughter move. "Soon, baby girl," she whispered. "Soon everyone will know the truth." The service began. Pastor David Reynolds stood at the pulpit, his voice thick with emotion as he spoke about a woman who had touched so many lives. A dedicated nurse, a loving daughter, a friend to anyone who needed one. Rachel listened to her own eulogy from the shadows. It was strange hearing people talk about you in the past tense, hearing them describe the person you were, as if that person no longer existed. In some ways, she did not exist anymore. The Rachel who had walked into her bedroom 3 weeks ago, the Rachel who had trusted her husband completely, that woman was dead. What remained was someone harder, someone angrier, someone who had learned the terrible truth about the man she married. Tyler stood to deliver his portion of the eulogy. He walked to the podium with measured steps, each one conveying appropriate sorrow. He gripped the edges of the wooden stand. His wedding ring caught the light from the stained glass windows. "Rachel was my everything," he began. His voice cracked at exactly the right moment. "From the moment I met her, I knew she was special. She had this light about her, this warmth. She made everyone around her feel like they mattered." Rachel's stomach turned. She had heard him use that same tone 1,000 times. In court, convincing juries. At dinner parties, charming clients. In their bedroom, telling her lies she had been too blind to see. "When she told me she was pregnant," Tyler continued, "I cried, real tears, because I knew she would be the most amazing mother. I knew our daughter would be the luckiest child in the world." Daughter. He knew it was a girl, because Rachel had told him, back when she still trusted him, back when she still thought they were building a life together. Now their daughter would grow up knowing her father was a monster. Tyler finished his performance to muffled sobs from the congregation. He returned to his seat beside the woman in red. His hand found hers beneath the pew. Rachel saw it, that small gesture of comfort between predator and accomplice. She turned and slipped out of the church before anyone could notice her. The real show would begin soon enough, at the will reading, where every secret would finally come to light. But first, let me tell you how I ended up at my own funeral. Let me tell you about the 3 weeks that destroyed everything I thought I knew. Let me tell you about the day I discovered my husband was planning to kill me. But the nuts out. 3 weeks earlier, Rachel Montgomery woke up at 5 in the morning to an empty bed. This was not unusual. Tyler often left early for work, especially when he had a big case. He was a personal injury lawyer at one of the most prestigious firms in the city. Long hours came with the territory. She found his text on her phone, sent at 4:30. "Early meeting with clients. Did not want to wake you. Love you." Rachel smiled and typed back a heart emoji. Then she hauled herself out of the bed, her 8-month pregnant belly making every movement an exercise in awkwardness. Her morning routine was the same as always. Shower, prenatal vitamins, comfortable scrubs for her 12-hour shift at the hospital. She worked in the emergency room at St. Francis Medical Center, had worked there for 11 years, ever since she graduated from nursing school. She made herself decaf coffee because the pregnancy books said caffeine was risky. She made Tyler breakfast too, even though he was not there to eat it. Eggs and toast kept warm in the oven for when he got home. That was the kind of wife she was. The kind who made breakfast for a husband who never said thank you. The kind who had put that husband through law school while working double shifts. The kind who had paid off $47,000 in student loans. His student loans, with her money, her overtime, her sacrifice. But she did not think about it that way. Not then. She thought they were a team. She thought everything she gave would come back to her tenfold. She thought wrong. At the hospital, Rachel's coworker, Janet Cooper, found her in the break room, staring at her phone. "You okay, girl?" Janet asked. "You look tired." "Just pregnancy insomnia," Rachel said. "The baby is doing gymnastics at 3 in the morning." Janet sat down across from her with a cup of coffee that Rachel envied deeply. "Hey," Janet said, "can I ask you something personal?" Rachel shrugged. "Sure." "You still do not have your own bank account, do you?" "Everything is joint with Tyler." Rachel frowned. "We have been married for 6 years. Everything is shared." Janet leaned forward. Her voice dropped to a whisper. "What if something happens? What if you need to leave in a hurry?" "Every woman needs a freedom fund. Even just $50 a month, tucked away in an account he does not know about." Rachel laughed, but it came out forced. "Tyler and I do not have secrets. We tell each other everything." Janet raised an eyebrow, but did not push. "Okay, honey, just something to think about." Rachel thought about it for approximately 30 seconds before pushing the conversation out of her mind. Janet had been through a nasty divorce 2 years ago. She saw danger everywhere now. That was understandable, but it did not apply to Rachel's marriage. Tyler loved her. Tyler would never hurt her. Tyler would never lie to her. At 2 in the afternoon, Rachel's supervisor called her into the office. Her blood pressure had been high at her last checkup, and today it was even worse. The supervisor sent her home with strict instructions to rest. Rachel was annoyed. She hated leaving her patients, but she also knew stress was bad for the baby, so she gathered her things and drove home early. Tyler's car was in the driveway. Strange. He had said he would be in meetings all day. Maybe the meetings ended early. Maybe he came home to surprise her. She smiled as she unlocked the front door. Maybe they could spend the afternoon together, watch a movie, talk about baby names, be a normal married couple for a few hours. She walked inside, set her purse on the table by the door, kicked off her shoes. That was when she heard it. A sound from upstairs. A rhythmic sound. A sound that her brain refused to process for several long seconds. "No," she thought, "no. That is not what I think it is." But her feet were already moving. Up the stairs, down the hallway, toward the master bedroom, toward the door that was slightly open, toward the truth she had been too blind to see. Rachel pushed open the bedroom door. The image burned itself into her brain like a brand. Her husband. Another woman. In her bed. On the sheets she had bought with her Christmas bonus. The expensive Egyptian cotton ones that Tyler had said were too extravagant, but she had bought anyway because she wanted something nice. Something nice that was now tangled around another woman's body. Tyler saw her first. His expression went through several phases in rapid succession. Shock, fear, and then, incredibly, annoyance. "Rachel," he said, "you are supposed to be at work." The other woman scrambled for the sheets. She was young, maybe 29, with dark hair and wide eyes. Pretty. The kind of pretty that made Rachel feel old and tired and 8 months pregnant. "You said she would be at work until 7, the woman said. Her voice was accusatory, as if Rachel was the one who had done something wrong by coming home to her own house. Rachel could not speak, could not move, could not do anything except stand in the doorway of her own bedroom and watch her entire life collapse around her. Tyler climbed out of bed. He did not bother to cover himself. He walked toward Rachel, with his hands raised, like she was a wild animal he needed to calm. "Rachel, listen to me. It is not what it looks like." She found her voice. It came out as a whisper. "Not what it looks like. You are in bed with another woman. In our bed. What else could it possibly look like?" Tyler sighed. The same sigh he used when she forgot to pick up his dry cleaning. The same sigh he used when she asked him to help with dishes. The sigh that said she was being unreasonable. "You are overreacting." he said. "This is exactly why I did not tell you. I knew you would be hysterical." Hysterical? Rachel repeated the word like it was in a foreign language. "It is the pregnancy hormones," Tyler continued. "They are making you crazy. We should sit down and talk about this like adults. You are embarrassing yourself." Rachel looked past him to the woman still in her bed. "Who is she?" Tyler glanced back. "This is Ashley. She is a paralegal at my firm. We have been working closely on a case, and things got complicated." Complicated. Another word that did not make sense. Complicated was a math problem. Complicated was a patient's medical history. Complicated was not your husband sleeping with his coworker in your marital bed. "How long?" Rachel asked. Tyler hesitated. That hesitation told her everything. "How long?" she repeated. 2 years. 2 years. Rachel did the math in her head. 2 years ago, she had suffered her second miscarriage. 2 years ago, she had cried in Tyler's arms, and he had promised they would try again. 2 years ago, she had believed him when he said she was the only woman he would ever love. 2 years of lies. 2 years of coming home and kissing her forehead and asking about her day. 2 years of sleeping beside her at night after spending his afternoons with someone else. Rachel turned and walked away. Tyler followed her down the stairs. "Rachel, wait. Let me explain. It does not mean anything. Ashley knows I am committed to my marriage. She knows you are pregnant with my child." Rachel grabbed her purse from the table. Her hands were shaking so badly she could barely hold it. "Where are you going?" Tyler demanded. "Away from you." His hand closed around her arm. Not hard enough to bruise, but hard enough to stop her. "You cannot just leave. We need to talk about this. We need to figure out how to move forward." Rachel looked at his hand on her arm, looked at his face, the face she had loved for 7 years, the face that had lied to her every single day for the past 2 of those years. "Let go of me," she said. Something in her voice made him comply. He released her arm and stepped back. "Rachel, please, think about the baby. Think about our family." "Our family," Rachel said. "You should have thought about our family before you brought another woman into our bed." She walked out the front door. She got into her car. She drove away from the house she had thought was her home. She made it 3 blocks before she had to pull over because she could not see through the tears. Rachel drove to her brother's house on the other side of town. Marcus Williams was 3 years older than her. He had practically raised her after their parents' divorce, working 2 jobs to make sure she could finish nursing school. He was the one person in the world she trusted completely. He opened the door before she could knock. One look at her face, and he pulled her inside. "What happened?" he asked. "What did he do?" Rachel collapsed onto his couch. The words came out in broken sentences between sobs. "Tyler, another woman, in their bed. 2 years. 2 years of lies." Marcus's face went through its own series of expressions. Confusion, disbelief, and then rage. Pure, undiluted rage. "I am going to kill him," Marcus said. "I am going to drive over there right now and kill him." His wife Teresa appeared from the kitchen. She was a paralegal herself, divorced from her first husband after catching him in a similar situation. She knew exactly what Rachel was going through. "Marcus," she said quietly, "sit down. Did you hear what she said? That piece of garbage has been cheating on my pregnant sister for 2 years. 2 years, I heard. And you are not going to kill him. You are 5'6", and Tyler is over 6 feet tall. What you are going to do is take a breath and think." Marcus sat down, but his hands were still clenched into fists. "I will write him a letter," he muttered. "A very strongly worded letter." Despite everything, Rachel laughed. It was a wet, broken sound, but it was still a laugh. Teresa sat beside her on the couch. "Honey, I need you to listen to me. I know you are in shock right now. I know you want to scream and cry and throw things, but you need to protect yourself first." "What do you mean?" Teresa's voice was calm and practical, the voice of someone who had been through this before. "Tonight, you do not confront him again. Tomorrow morning, you document everything. Photograph bank statements, screenshot text messages. Do not move any money yet, because that looks bad in court. but get copies of everything, every account, every investment, every piece of property. Rachel wiped her eyes. You think I should divorce him? I think you need to know your options. And you cannot know your options until you know what you are dealing with. Marcus stood up and started pacing. She should come stay with us. She should not go back to that house. Teresa nodded. Absolutely. We have the guest room. Stay as long as you need. Rachel looked at her brother, at her sister-in-law, at the small, comfortable house that suddenly felt like the only safe place in the world. Okay, she said. Okay. That night, she lay awake in Marcus and Teresa's guest room, staring at the ceiling. Her hand rested on her belly. The baby kicked and turned, restless as her mother. I am sorry, Rachel whispered to her daughter. I am sorry I chose the wrong man to be your father. The baby kicked again. Rachel chose to interpret it as forgiveness. Tomorrow, she would start documenting. Tomorrow, she would figure out her next steps. Tomorrow, she would begin the process of untangling her life from the man who had betrayed her. But tonight, she would cry. Tonight, she would mourn the marriage she thought she had. Tonight, she would grieve for the future that had been stolen from her. Tomorrow, she would fight. The next morning, Rachel started documenting. She logged into their joint bank account on her phone. The balance showed $2,847, the same amount it always showed. They were not rich, but they were comfortable. Tyler made good money as a lawyer. Her nursing salary helped cover the extras. At least, that was what she had always believed. Teresa sat beside her at the kitchen table, a cup of coffee growing cold in front of her. Check everything, Teresa said. Credit cards, savings accounts, investment portfolios, anything with both your names on it. Rachel pulled up their credit card statements. Nothing unusual. Groceries, gas, the occasional dinner out, normal married couple expenses. Then she noticed something, a charge from 3 months ago that she did not recognize. First National Bank, fee $200. What is First National? Rachel asked. We do not have an account there. Teresa frowned. Maybe it is a mistake, or maybe you should look into it. Rachel called the number on the statement, navigated through automated menus until she reached a human being. I'm calling about a charge on my credit card, she said, from First National Bank. I do not have an account with you. The customer service representative asked for her social security number. Rachel provided it. There was a long pause. Ma'am, the representative said, you are listed as a joint account holder on account number 7432. Would you like me to send a duplicate statement to your address on file? Rachel's heart started pounding. Yes, please. She hung up the phone and looked at Teresa. There is another account, Rachel said, one I did not know about. I am listed as a joint holder. Teresa's expression darkened. That is not good. Why not? Because joint holder means you are legally responsible for whatever is in that account, or whatever is owed on that account. The statement arrived in Rachel's email 2 hours later. She opened it at the kitchen table while Marcus paced behind her. The balance was negative $47,000. Rachel read the number 3 times. She was certain she was misunderstanding something. Tyler had overdrawn an account by $47,000. An account she did not know existed. An account with her name on it. She scrolled through the transactions. Cash withdrawals. Wire transfers to something called Golden Luck Casino. Payments to credit card companies she had never heard of. He has been gambling, Marcus said. His voice was hollow. Tyler has a gambling problem. Rachel kept scrolling. The transactions went back 2 years. The same 2 years he had been sleeping with Ashley. The same 2 years he had been lying about everything. There is more, Teresa said quietly. She was looking at her laptop. I ran a credit check using your information. Rachel, you need to see this. Teresa turned the screen toward her. Rachel saw credit cards. Credit cards she had never applied for, never signed for, never used. 5 of them, with a combined balance of $89,000, all in both their names. All legally her responsibility. There is also a second mortgage on your house, Teresa continued, taken out 18 months ago. Principal balance of $44,000. Rachel could not breathe. The numbers swam in front of her eyes. Total it up, she whispered. Teresa did the math. $180,000. Give or take. $180,000 in debt. Hidden debt. Debt that Rachel was legally responsible for because her name was on everything. Everything she had worked for, everything she had saved. The house she thought was almost paid off. The retirement fund she thought was growing. The stable financial future she thought she was building for her daughter. Gone. Gambled away. While she worked 12-hour shifts and made breakfast he never thanked her for. She stood up from this table. She needed air. She needed space. She needed to understand how her entire life had become a lie. She walked into the backyard and stood in the cold October morning, her arms wrapped around her belly. Marcus followed her outside. We will figure this out, he said. You are not alone. We will find a way. Rachel shook her head. I am $180,000 in debt, Marcus. I am 8 months pregnant. I cannot work with a newborn. I cannot afford a divorce lawyer. I cannot afford anything. We will figure it out, Marcus repeated. He put his hand on her shoulder. Whatever it takes. You are my sister. I am not going to let you drown. Rachel wanted to believe him, but the numbers kept circling in her head. 180,000. 180,000. 180,000. How was she supposed to dig herself out of a hole that deep? That afternoon, Rachel went back to the house. Tyler was at work. She used her key and walked through the rooms like a stranger in someone else's home. Everything looked different now. The expensive furniture, the art on the walls, the renovated kitchen she had thought they paid for with Tyler's bonus. All of it bought with borrowed money. Money that would eventually come due. Money that was technically hers to repay. She went to Tyler's home office, a room he had always kept private. Important legal files, he had told her. Client confidentiality. Nothing interesting. She had never questioned it, never thought to look. Now she opened every drawer, searched every cabinet, looked in every corner for evidence of the life her husband had been living behind her back. She found the file cabinet in the closet, the one with the lock. She found the key taped to the bottom of his desk chair. She opened the cabinet. Inside were folders, dozens of folders, bank statements, credit card bills, casino receipts, documentation of every lie he had told for the past 2 years. And something else. Something else. A life insurance policy. Rachel pulled it out with trembling hands. She read the document 3 times to make sure she understood. The policy was for $500,000. The beneficiary was Tyler Montgomery. The insured person was Rachel Montgomery. It had been taken out 6 months ago. Her signature was at the bottom of the page. Except Rachel had never seen this document before. She had never signed it. She had never agreed to a life insurance policy worth $500,000. Her signature was forged. She sat down on the floor of her husband's office. Her hands shook so badly she could barely hold the paper. $500,000, payable to Tyler upon her death. The gambling debts suddenly made a terrible kind of sense. The affair made sense. Everything made sense in the worst possible way. Tyler was not just cheating on her. Tyler was not just stealing from her. Tyler was planning to kill her. She pulled out her phone and called Marcus. I need you to come get me, she said. Her voice was steady, even though her whole body was shaking. I need you to come get me right now. What happened? Marcus asked. What did you find? Rachel looked at the insurance policy, at the forged signature, at the $500,000 price tag on her life. I found out why he needs me dead, she said. The next morning, Rachel walked into the Westbrook Women's Legal Aid Clinic with a folder full of documents and a heart full of fear. The building was small, tucked between a laundromat and a check cashing place on the wrong side of the town. Not the kind of place she would have imagined finding help. But Teresa had recommended it, and Rachel was desperate enough to try anything. The waiting room was crowded. Women of all ages sat in plastic chairs, some with children, some alone, all with the same exhausted expression. The look of people who had been knocked down and were trying to figure out how to stand up again. Rachel took a number and waited. 2 hours later, a woman called her name. Diane Lawson was 58 years old, with gray, streaked hair and reading glasses perched on her nose. She wore a cardigan that had seen better days and carried a coffee cup that said "World's Okayest Lawyer" on the side. "Rachel Montgomery," Diane said. "Come on back." They walked to a small office crammed with filing cabinets and legal books. Diane sat behind a cluttered desk and gestured for Rachel to take the chair across from her. "So," Diane said, "tell me your story." Rachel told her everything: the affair, the gambling debts, the credit cards, the second mortgage, the life insurance policy with the forged signature. Diane listened without interrupting. Her expression did not change. She had clearly heard worse. When Rachel finished, Diane leaned back in her chair. "Honey," she said, "I have been divorced 3 times myself. First husband cheated, second husband was broke, third husband was both. I thought I was done, being surprised by terrible men. But this is a new one, even for me." "What do I do?" Rachel asked. "How do I get out of this?" Diane pulled out a legal pad and started writing. "First thing, we file a police report about that forged signature. Creates a paper trail. Shows that you knew about it and reported it." "Will they arrest him?" "Probably not. Forging a signature is hard to prove, and insurance fraud requires actual fraud. But it puts it on record. That matters later." Rachel nodded. "What else?" "We document everything. You have already started, which is good. Screenshots of bank accounts, copies of all those statements you found, photographs of that insurance policy. Store it all in a cloud account he does not have access to." She kept writing. "You need your own bank account, something in your name only, at a different bank. Start putting money aside. Not much, just enough for an emergency." "I do not have any money to put aside." Diane looked up. "What about your paychecks?" "They go into our joint account. They always have. Starting tomorrow, they go into your new account. You can transfer some to the joint account so he does not notice, but you keep a portion for yourself. Call it your freedom fund." Rachel remembered Janet at the hospital saying the same thing. Every woman needs a freedom fund. She had laughed it off then. She was not laughing now. "What about the debts?" Rachel asked. "Am I really responsible for all of it?" Diane sighed. "Legally, yes. If your name is on the account, you are liable. But there are arguments to be made: fraud, coercion, lack of knowledge. It will not make the debt disappear, but it might shift some responsibility back to him. And the divorce. That is where it gets complicated. You said there is a prenup." Rachel nodded. "We signed it before we got married. He said it was standard. I did not even read it." "Do you have a copy?" Rachel shook her head. "Then we need to get one. Prenups can be challenged, but only if we know what we are dealing with." Diane set down her pen and looked at Rachel directly. "Here is the most important thing I can tell you," she said. "Never tell anyone your next move. Not your mother, not your best friend, not your hairdresser. Men like Tyler have spies everywhere. People love gossip more than they love you." Rachel thought about all the friends she and Tyler shared, couples they had dinner with, neighbors who waved when they saw Tyler's car in the driveway. Any one of them could be reporting back to him. "I understand," Rachel said. "Good." Diane stood up and walked to a filing cabinet. She pulled out a folder and handed it to Rachel. "This is our intake packet. Fill out everything and bring it back tomorrow. We will start building your case." Rachel took the folder. "Thank you. I do not know how I can ever repay you." Diane smiled for the first time. "Honey, I do this work because I have been where you are. All I ask is that someday, when you are on the other side of this, you help someone else. Pay it forward." Rachel left the clinic, feeling something she had not felt in days. Hope.
Son?
The hope lasted approximately 6 hours. Rachel came back to Marcus and Teresa's house that evening. She had spent the afternoon at a different bank, opening an account in her own name. She had transferred $200 from the joint account. Not enough to raise suspicions, just enough to start. She had also packed a bag with her most important documents: birth certificate, social security card, her mother's jewelry, things she could not replace. She felt for the first time like she had a plan, like she might actually survive this. Then she pulled into Marcus's driveway and saw Tyler's car. He was sitting in the living room when she walked in. Marcus stood in the corner with his arms crossed, looking like he wanted to commit murder. Teresa sat on the couch, her expression carefully neutral. Tyler stood up when Rachel entered. His face was concerned, worried, the perfect mask of a loving husband. "Rachel," he said, "thank God, I have been looking everywhere for you." Rachel's hand tightened on her bag. "How did you know I was here?" "Marcus?" Tyler glanced at her brother. "I called him when you did not come home last night. He told me you were staying here, that you were upset about a misunderstanding." "Misunderstanding?" Rachel repeated. "You were in bed with another woman." Tyler sighed. His patient, "I'm dealing with a crazy person's sigh. I know, and I am sorry. Truly sorry. But you ran off before I could explain. Ashley and I, it was a mistake. A moment of weakness. It is over now. Completely over." "Over?" Rachel said. "After 2 years." Something flickered in Tyler's eyes, surprised that she knew how long it had been. He recovered quickly. "Yes," he said. 2 years of bad decisions. But I am ready to be the husband you deserve. I am ready to focus on our family, on our baby." He stepped toward her. Rachel stepped back. "I want you to come home," Tyler said. "I want us to work through this together. We can go to counseling. We can rebuild the trust." Rachel looked at him, at the man she had loved, at the man who had forged her signature on a $500,000 insurance policy. She wanted to scream at him, wanted to throw the evidence in his face, wanted to watch him try to explain away his plan to kill her. But Diane's voice echoed in her head. "Never tell anyone your next move." "I need time," Rachel said. "I need to think." Tyler nodded. "Understandable. Take all the time you need. But Rachel, please come home. That house is yours too. Our daughter's nursery is there. Everything you need for the baby is there." He was right. The nursery was fully stocked. The hospital bag was packed. Everything she had prepared for her daughter's arrival was in that house. "I will think about it," she said. Tyler smiled. His charming courtroom smile. The smile that had won over juries and judges and a naive young nurse 7 years ago. "That is all I ask," he said. "I love you, Rachel. I know I have not shown it lately, but I do. I love you and our baby more than anything in the world." He kissed her forehead. She forced herself not to flinch. Then he left. Marcus waited until Tyler's car disappeared down the street before exploding. "You are not going back there," he said. "Tell me you are not going back there." Rachel sat down heavily on the couch. The baby kicked. Her back ached. She was suddenly, overwhelmingly exhausted. "I do not know what to do," she said. "If I stay here, he will know something is wrong. He will get suspicious. He might find out about the legal aid clinic, about the bank account, about everything." Teresa sat beside her. "There is another option. You go back, you act normal. You pretend everything is fine while you build your case." Marcus stared at his wife. "You want her to go back to a man who forged her signature on a life insurance policy. A man who might be planning to kill her." "I want her to stay alive," Teresa said. "And sometimes that means playing the game until you can change the rules." Rachel looked at her sister-in-law. Teresa had survived a bad marriage. Teresa had figured out how to escape. Maybe she knew something Rachel did not. "How do I do that?" Rachel asked. "How do I live with him and pretend nothing is wrong?" "You become an actress," Teresa said. "You smile when you want to scream. You say the right things. You do not give him any reason to suspect you are planning to leave. And if he suspects anyway?" Teresa was quiet for a moment. "Then you have to be smarter than he is," she said, "and faster." Rachel moved back home. She told Tyler it was for the baby. Told him she needed access to the nursery, the hospital bag, the life they had built together. He accepted the explanation with gracious relief. "I knew you would come back," he said. "I knew you would see reason." Rachel smiled and nodded and died a little inside. For the next 2 weeks, she played the role of devoted wife. She made breakfast. She asked about his cases. She let him rub her belly and talk about baby names as if they were a normal, happy couple awaiting their first child. At night, she lay awake beside him, listening to him breathe, counting the hours until dawn. During the day, while Tyler was at work, she documented everything. She photographed every document in his office. She screenshotted every bank statement. She recorded conversations on her phone, hiding it in her pocket during dinner. She called Diane every few days from a burner phone Marcus had bought her, updated her on the evidence, asked for advice. "You are doing great," Diane told her. "Keep your head down. Keep gathering evidence. We will be ready to move soon." Soon could not come fast enough. Then Tyler found out about the legal aid clinic. Rachel came home from a grocery run to find him sitting in the dark living room. The lights were off. The curtains were drawn. He was waiting for her. "I know you went to a legal aid clinic," he said. His voice was calm. Too calm. "My buddy Mark saw your car in the parking lot last week." Rachel's blood went cold. "I was asking about my rights," she said. "As a wife, after the affair, I wanted to understand my options." "Your options." Tyler stood up slowly. His frame blocked the light from the hallway. "Your options are to stay with your husband and work on your marriage. Those are your only options." Rachel backed toward the door. Tyler stepped in front of it. "You are not going anywhere," he said. "You are 8 months pregnant with my child. Try to leave me, and I will make sure you never see that baby." "You cannot do that." "I am a lawyer, Rachel. I know exactly what I can do. I can have you declared an unfit mother. I can document your instability, your paranoia, your inability to care for a child." His voice dropped lower. "By the time I am done, you will be lucky to get supervised visits." Rachel's hands shook. The baby kicked. "Tyler, please. I am not trying to leave you. I was just scared. The affair scared me." His expression softened slightly. "I understand," he said. "You are hormonal. You are not thinking clearly. But this is exactly why you need me. You cannot make good decisions on your own right now." He reached out and touched her face. His hand was gentle, almost loving. "I forgive you," he said, "for going to that clinic, for doubting me. I forgive you, because I know you are not yourself." Rachel stood frozen as he kissed her forehead. "Now," he said, "let us go have dinner. I made reservations at that Italian place you like." She let him lead her to the car, let him open her door, let him drive her to a restaurant where they sat across from each other and pretended to be happy. Inside, she was screaming. The isolation began gradually. Tyler told her coworkers at the hospital that she was struggling with pregnancy psychosis, that she was seeing threats everywhere, that she needed rest and support, not stress. Her supervisor called her into the office. Mandatory leave until after the baby was born, for her own health, for the baby's safety. Tyler told their friends that Rachel was not feeling well, that she needed quiet, that they should give her space. The dinner invitations stopped coming. The phone calls dried up. One by one, the people in Rachel's life disappeared. He told her family that she needed rest, that visitors would be too much, that he would take care of everything. Marcus started calling more often, but Tyler always seemed to be around when the phone rang. "Tell your brother you are fine," Tyler would say. "Tell him he does not need to worry." And Rachel would tell Marcus she was fine, because Tyler was listening, because she was not allowed to say anything else. She called Diane from a gas station bathroom during one of her rare trips out of the house. "He is building a case," she said. "He's making me look crazy." "I know," Diane said. "He is trying to establish a pattern of mental instability. If something happens to you, if you disappear or have an accident, he will have plenty of witnesses ready to say you were not in your right mind." "What do I do?" "Gray rock him." "You know what that means." Rachel nodded, even though Diane could not see her. Teresa had explained gray rocking. You become boring, unreadable, a stone wall. You do not give the abuser any emotional reaction to feed on. Every text, every email, every interaction, Diane continued. Keep it calm. Keep it neutral. Never put anything emotional in writing. Do not give him ammunition. And if that does not work, then you survive. You stay alive. You wait for your moment. Every abuser makes mistakes, Rachel. Every single one. You just have to be ready when they do. Rachel hung up the phone and looked at herself in the bathroom mirror. Dark circles under her eyes, pale skin, the hollow look of a woman running out of options. I will survive this, she told her reflection. I have to. Her daughter kicked in agreement. 2 weeks later, Tyler suggested a weekend getaway. I know things have been tense, he said, over breakfast. I want us to reconnect before the baby comes. I booked a cabin in the mountains, just the two of us. Rachel's instincts screamed danger. I do not know, she said. The baby is due in 3 weeks. What if something happened? The hospital up there is excellent. I already checked, and the fresh air will be good for you. You have been cooped up in this house too long. She looked at his face, the concerned husband, the devoted father-to-be, the man who had forged her signature on a $500,000 insurance policy. Okay, she said. That sounds nice. Inside, she was already planning. They left on Friday morning. Rachel packed a small bag. She slipped her burner phone into a hidden pocket. She made sure her location sharing was turned on. The drive took 4 hours. Winding mountain roads, spectacular views, cliffs that dropped hundreds of feet to rocky valleys below. Tyler was in a good mood. He sang along with the radio. He talked about the cabin, the views, the gourmet restaurant where he had made dinner reservations. He was happy. That scared her more than anything. They arrived at the cabin in the afternoon. It was beautiful, secluded, miles from the nearest neighbor. The perfect romantic getaway. The perfect place to make someone disappear. Rachel tried to enjoy herself, tried to relax, tried to believe that maybe she was wrong. Maybe Tyler really did just want to reconnect. But that night, lying awake beside him, she heard him get up. He walked to the window, pulled back the curtain, stared out at the darkness. 3 more weeks, he muttered. Just 3 more weeks. Rachel lay perfectly still. She kept her breathing even. She pretended to be asleep. 3 more weeks until what? Until the baby was born. Until she was no longer pregnant. Until whatever he was planning could finally happen. The next morning, Tyler suggested a drive. There is this overlook I want to show you, he said. Most beautiful view in the state. You can see 3 different valleys from up there. Rachel nodded. Let me get my jacket. She went to the bedroom, found her phone, pressed record, slipped it into her jacket pocket. Whatever happened on this drive, she was going to document it. They wound up the mountain road, higher and higher. The guardrails became more sparse. The drops became more severe. Tyler drove casually, one hand on the wheel, humming along with the radio. You know, Rachel, he said, I have been thinking about us, about the baby, about the future. What about it? He glanced at her. His eyes were flat, empty. Some problems just solve themselves. Rachel's blood turned to ice. Tyler, she said carefully, slow down? He did not slow down. If anything, he accelerated. You know what I mean, Rachel. Some problems, you do not have to do anything. They just go away on their own. She saw the curve ahead, saw the cliff beyond it, saw the drop that would kill her and her baby in an instant. Tyler pressed the gas pedal. Rachel grabbed the wheel. The world spun. Tires screamed, glass shattered, metal crunched. The airbag exploded in her face. Then silence. Rachel opened her eyes. They were not on the cliff. They were in the trees. Her grab of the wheel had sent them off the road, but into the forest, not over the edge. She was alive. Tyler groaned beside her. He pushed his airbag away. Blood trickled from a cut on his forehead. He looked at her. His expression was not relief. It was disappointment. Then his face transformed. The concerned husband snapped back into place. Rachel, he said. Oh God, Rachel. Are you okay? Is the baby okay? She did not answer, could not answer. She was too busy understanding what she had just seen. He had been disappointed that she survived. Tyler fumbled for his phone, dialed 911. His voice was frantic, terrified. There has been an accident. My wife is pregnant. We went off the road. Please, you have to help us. He was a good actor, the best she had ever seen. But she had seen behind the mask now. She knew exactly what he was. The ambulance took them to Mountain View Regional Hospital. Rachel was rushed to the maternity ward. Monitors attached. Baby's heartbeat checked. The baby was fine. Strong heartbeat. Good movement. Miraculous, the nurses said, considering the severity of the crash. Rachel had a broken arm and a concussion. Minor injuries. She should be grateful. She was not grateful. She was terrified. Tyler played his role perfectly. He held her hand in the emergency room. He cried to the nurses. He called her family to report the accident. A terrible accident, he told everyone. I lost control of the car. Thank God we are both okay. The police came to take a statement. A young officer with a sympathetic face. Can you tell me what happened, ma'am? Rachel looked at Tyler. He was watching her, waiting. My husband lost control of the car, she said. It all happened so fast. Tyler squeezed her hand. Good girl. But the young officer was replaced by an older detective, Robert Harrison. He had skeptical eyes and a notepad that never seemed to close. I need to ask you some questions, he said. Alone. Tyler started to protest, but Detective Harrison held up his hand. Standard procedure, sir. Just routine. They moved to a private room. Rachel sat on the edge of the bed, her broken arm throbbing. Mrs. Montgomery, Detective Harrison said, is there anything you want to tell me? Anything that did not make it into your husband's version of events? Rachel hesitated. She thought about the phone in her jacket, the recording, the evidence of what Tyler had said. Some problems just solved themselves. She made a decision. I need you to listen to something, she said. She played the recording. Detective Harrison listened without expression. When it ended, he looked at her for a long moment. That is not much, he said finally. He could argue he was talking about something else. A business deal. A lawsuit. But the way he was driving, your word against his. And from what I understand, you have been struggling with your mental health lately. Your husband mentioned pregnancy psychosis. Rachel's heart sank. Tyler had already gotten to them. Already planted the seeds of doubt. What about the life insurance policy? She said. The one with my forged signature. Tell me about that. She told him everything. The policy, the gambling debts, the hidden accounts, the 2-year affair. Detective Harrison wrote it all down. I will look into this, he said, but I need you to understand something. Forging a signature is hard to prove. So is attempted murder. Without witnesses, without physical evidence, it is your word against his. So I am supposed to just go home with him. Pretend nothing happened. I am not saying that. I am saying the legal system moves slowly. You need to be patient, and you need to be careful. 3 days later, Rachel was released from the hospital. Tyler arrived to pick her up, flowers in hand, smile on his face. Ready to go home, sweetheart? Rachel wanted to scream, wanted to run, wanted to do anything except get in a car with this man again. But she had nowhere else to go. No money, no job, no way to support herself and her baby. She got in the car. Tyler drove carefully this time, both hands on the wheel. Strict attention to speed limits. I have been thinking, he said, about the accident. I realize how fragile life is, how quickly everything can be taken away. Rachel said nothing. I want to be a better husband, a better father. I want us to put all this unpleasantness behind us and focus on our family. Unpleasantness. That was what he called trying to kill her. Rachel nodded. Okay. Tyler smiled. I knew you would understand. They arrived home. Tyler helped her inside, settled her on the couch, made her tea. The perfect husband, the perfect performance. Rachel sipped her tea and waited. The next week was a nightmare of pretending. Rachel pretended to believe Tyler's version of events, pretended to accept his apologies, pretended to be the grateful wife saved by her devoted husband. Meanwhile, Tyler's lawyer got involved. Thomas Whitfield was the partner at Tyler's firm. Silver-haired, expensive suit, the kind of lawyer who made judges nervous. He filed a motion to have the police investigation closed. He argued that Rachel had grabbed the wheel and caused the accident. He presented witnesses from Tyler's gaslighting campaign who testified to her mental instability. He got the recording thrown out. Inadmissible under state wiretapping laws. 2 weeks after the accident, Detective Harrison called Rachel with the news. The DA is not pressing charges, he said. I am sorry. There is just not enough evidence. Rachel hung up the phone and stared at the wall. Tyler was going to get away with it. That night, Tyler came home from work in a good mood. "Great news," he said. "All that legal nonsense is finally behind us. We can focus on what matters now. The baby." He sat beside her on the couch, put his hand on her belly. "I want you to know something, Rachel. I have learned my lesson. No more mistakes, no more problems." He looked into her eyes. "We are going to be a perfect family. You, me, and our daughter. Forever." Rachel understood what he was saying. He had gotten away with it. He could do whatever he wanted now, and there was nothing she could do to stop him. 2 weeks later, Rachel was running out of hope. Tyler had won. The police investigation was closed. Her evidence had been dismissed. No one believed her. She went through her days like a ghost, eating when Tyler told her to eat, sleeping when Tyler told her to sleep, saying the words Tyler wanted her to say. Her daughter was due in 1 week. Rachel should have been excited, should have been preparing for the happiest moment of her life. Instead, she was preparing for death. She had written letters to Marcus, to her parents, to her unborn daughter, letters explaining who Tyler really was, letters begging them to fight for justice if anything happened to her. Small consolations for a woman who had given up. Then the doorbell rang. Tyler was at work. Rachel was alone. She shuffled to the door, expecting a delivery driver. Instead, she found Gloria Montgomery, Tyler's mother. Gloria was 67 years old, elegant in a way that Rachel had always envied. Silver hair, perfectly styled. Expensive clothes, the kind of woman who had lunch at country clubs and served on charity boards. She had never particularly liked Rachel, had always looked at her son's choice of wife with barely concealed disappointment. So why was she here now? "May I come in?" Gloria said. "We need to talk." Rachel stepped aside. Gloria walked into the living room, looked around with distaste at the evidence of Tyler's existence, and sat down on the couch. "Close the door," Gloria said. "What I am about to tell you cannot leave this room." Rachel closed the door. Gloria folded her hands in her lap. Her composure cracked slightly. Rachel saw something underneath. Fear, guilt, shame. "I know what my son is," Gloria said. "I have known for 20 years. I was too ashamed to say anything. Too proud, too afraid of what people would think." Rachel sat down slowly. "What are you talking about?" Tyler was a difficult child. Troubled. When he was 12, he set fire to the neighbor's shed. When he was 15, he killed a cat. Not by accident. Deliberately. Rachel's stomach turned. "I told myself it was a phase, that he would grow out of it. I paid for therapy, for psychiatrists, for anything that might help. And he learned. He learned to hide it better. He learned to wear a mask." Gloria looked at Rachel directly. "When I saw the news coverage of your accident, when I saw him playing the devoted husband, I recognized that mask. The same mask he has been wearing his whole life." "Why are you telling me this?" "Because there is more." Gloria reached into her purse. She pulled out a folder. "Things I have been keeping secret for 8 years. She opened the folder. Inside were photographs, documents, letters. "This is Karen Bradley," Gloria said. She was Tyler's first wife. Rachel stared at a photograph of a young woman with brown hair and kind eyes. "They were married for 3 years, Gloria continued. "Just like you, Karen started noticing things. The lies, the hidden debts, the other women. What happened to her?" Gloria was quiet for a moment. "Tyler had her committed to a psychiatric facility. He told everyone she had a mental breakdown, that she was a danger to herself." Rachel felt sick. She was not dangerous. She was inconvenient. She knew too much. So Tyler got rid of her. Gloria pulled out another document. "I have been paying for Karen's care for 8 years. Guilt money, blood money, whatever you want to call it. She is at Greenwood Psychiatric Hospital under a false name. Tyler does not know she is still alive." "Still alive?" "He told everyone she died. Suicide, officially. Very tragic. Very convenient." Rachel looked at the folder, at the evidence of her husband's previous crimes. "Why are you showing me this now?" "Because I cannot stay silent anymore." Gloria's voice cracked. I watched him destroy one woman. I cannot watch him destroy another, especially not when there is a child involved. She reached out and took Rachel's hand. My granddaughter does not deserve a monster for a father, and you do not deserve to die, so my son can collect insurance money. Rachel started to cry. For the first time in weeks, she let herself feel hope. What do I do? She asked. How do I stop him? Gloria squeezed her hand. I have a plan, she said, but you are going to have to trust me. Can you do that? Rachel thought about everything she had lost, everything Tyler had taken from her. Yes, she said, I can do that. Gloria's plan was insane. Rachel had to die. Not really die. But Tyler had to believe she was dead. The only way to stop him is to let him think he won, Gloria explained. Let him show his true colors when he thinks no one is watching. Then expose him publicly in a way he cannot spin or explain away. How do we fake my death? Gloria smiled. It was not a nice smile. I have a friend, she said, Dr. Richard Bennett. He owes me several favors. He can make you appear dead convincingly enough to fool an ambulance crew. And then what? Then we wait for the funeral. Tyler will bring his mistress. He will celebrate. He will make mistakes. And when he does, we will be ready. What about Karen? Gloria's expression softened. Karen has recovered enough to speak, to testify. She wants justice, Rachel. She has wanted it for 8 years. Rachel looked at the folder, at the evidence Gloria had gathered, at the plan that might actually work. Let us do it, she said. The next 3 days were a blur of preparation. Rachel met with Gloria's lawyer, William Porter, and signed new documents. A will that left everything to her daughter and nothing to Tyler. Instructions for what should happen if she died. She recorded a video, everything she knew about Tyler. The affairs, the debts, the forged signature, the accident that was not an accident. She met with Diane at the legal aid clinic one last time. You are either the bravest woman I have ever met, Diane said, or the craziest. Maybe both, Rachel answered. She called Marcus and Teresa, told them the plan. Marcus nearly had a heart attack. You are going to fake your own death, he repeated, to catch your murderous husband. And you do not think that is insane. It is insane, Rachel agreed, but it is also the only way. Teresa, surprisingly, was supportive. I have read about this technique, she said. It is called gray rocking to the extreme. You give the abuser exactly what they want, and then you take it all away. Marcus shook his head. I wanted to write a strongly worded letter. Rachel laughed. It felt good to laugh. Your letter can wait, she said. First, I have to die. Rachel Montgomery died on a Tuesday. At least, that was what the death certificate said. She took pills. An overdose, supposedly. Tyler found her unconscious on the bathroom floor and called 911. The paramedics arrived to find a pregnant woman with no pulse. They rushed her to the hospital, where Dr. Richard Bennett was waiting. The sedative he had given her earlier that day mimicked death perfectly. No pulse that regular equipment could detect. No breathing that standard tests could measure. Tyler arrived at the hospital in time to hear the news. I am sorry, Dr. Bennett told him. We did everything we could. Your wife did not make it. Tyler's performance was Oscar-worthy. He collapsed against the wall. He sobbed into his hands. He demanded to see his wife's body one last time. The nurses guided him to a private room where Rachel lay on a gurney, sheet pulled over her face. Tyler approached slowly. He lifted the sheet, looked at her peaceful face. Then, when he thought he was alone, he smiled. Finally, he whispered, "It is over." He dropped the sheet and walked out of the room to call his mistress with the good news. Rachel opened her eyes the moment he was gone. The next 24 hours were chaos and planning. Rachel was moved to the safe house on the other side of town. Gloria had rented it under a false name months ago, just in case. Marcus and Teresa arrived with supplies. Food, clothes, laptops, phones. Everything Rachel would need to monitor Tyler from a distance. Diane called with updates from the police department. Detective Harrison was suspicious of the suicide, but there was no evidence of foul play. The case would be closed as a tragic accident. Perfect. They wanted it closed. They wanted Tyler to feel safe. Karen Bradley arrived on Wednesday. She was thin and pale, her eyes carrying the weight of 8 years of institutional life. But she was lucid. She was ready. I have dreamed of this moment, Karen told Rachel. The moment when Tyler Montgomery finally faces justice. We will make it happen, Rachel promised. Both of us. Together. The funeral was scheduled for Saturday. 300 invitations were sent. Tyler handled the arrangements personally. He chose the flowers, the music, the readings. He wrote a eulogy that would make angels weep. He also made one more phone call to Ashley Grant. Rachel watched the call happen through surveillance software Gloria's lawyer had installed on Tyler's phone. "It is over," Tyler said. "She is gone. We can finally be together." "Are you sure it is safe?" Ashley asked. "Safer than ever. No one suspects anything. The police closed the case. My mother is in denial. Everyone believes I am a grieving widower. What about the funeral? Come with me. I want you there. I want everyone to see that I have moved on." "Tyler, that is crazy." "People will talk. Let them talk. I do not care anymore. Wear something beautiful. Wear red. I want you to stand out." Ashley hesitated. Then she agreed. Rachel turned off the surveillance feed and looked at Gloria. "He is bringing her to my funeral," Rachel said. "He is actually bringing his mistress to my funeral." Gloria nodded grimly. "That is exactly what we wanted. Now everyone will see who he really is." Saturday morning arrived cold and gray. Rachel dressed carefully in the safe house. Black wig, oversized sunglasses, loose clothing that hid her pregnant belly. She looked at herself in the mirror. She did not recognize the woman staring back. Good. Marcus drove her to the church. They parked 3 blocks away and walked the rest of the distance. "Are you sure about this?" Marcus asked for the 100th time. "I have never been more sure of anything in my life," Rachel answered. They entered through a side door, slipped into the back of the church, found a spot behind a pillar where Rachel could watch without being seen. 300 people filled the pews. Rachel's coworkers from the hospital, Tyler's colleagues from the law firm, neighbors, friends, distant relatives, all there to mourn a woman who was standing 20 feet away. Then the main doors opened. Tyler walked in wearing his $3,000 suit. Ashley was on his arm, wearing the brightest red dress Rachel had ever seen. The gasps were audible. The whispers spread like wildfire. Rachel watched as Tyler guided Ashley to the front row, watched him sit beside her own empty casket, watched him take Ashley's hand in full view of everyone. He thought he had won. He was about to learn how wrong he was. The service began. Pastor David Reynolds delivered a eulogy about Rachel's kindness, her dedication to nursing, her love for the baby she would never meet. Tyler cried at appropriate moments. Ashley looked bored. Then Tyler stood to deliver his portion of the eulogy. He walked to the podium with measured steps. He gripped the edges and looked out at the congregation. "Rachel was my everything," he began. Rachel almost laughed. Almost. "She was the love of my life, the mother of my child, the best person I have ever known." He wiped away a tear. "I will spend the rest of my days honoring her memory, being the man she always believed I could be." Then the video screen behind him flickered to life. Tyler frowned, turned around, and saw his wife's face staring back at him. "Hello, Tyler," the recording said. "Surprise." The congregation erupted in chaos. Tyler stood frozen at the podium as Rachel's voice filled the church. "I am not dead," the recording continued, "but our marriage is. And now everyone is going to learn who you really are." Tyler spun toward the video screen. His face cycled through confusion, shock, and finally rage. "Turn that off," he shouted. "Someone turn that off." No one moved. Every eye was fixed on the screen. The recording played evidence. Bank statements showing the gambling debts, credit card bills in Rachel's name that she had never signed, the forged life insurance policy worth $500,000. Then the recording from the mountain road. Some problems just solve themselves. Tyler's voice, unmistakable, speaking words that could not be misinterpreted. "That is out of context," Tyler yelled. "She is manipulating everyone. She is crazy." The screen changed. A new face appeared. Karen Bradley. Tyler's first wife. "My name is Karen Bradley," Karen said. "I was married to Tyler Montgomery for 3 years. He had me committed to a psychiatric facility 8 years ago. He told everyone I was crazy. I was not crazy. I found out about his affairs, his debts, his lies. Just like Rachel did." Tyler backed away from the podium. His face had gone white. "He drugged me," Karen continued. "He had me declared mentally incompetent. He collected my life insurance money and told everyone I committed suicide. I lost 8 years of my life. 8 years in an institution while he walked free and found another victim." The congregation was silent, 300 people staring at Tyler Montgomery as his mask crumbled. "This is lies," Tyler said. His voice cracked. "All of this is fabricated. Karen is dead. She has been dead for years." "Then how is she talking to us right now?" a voice called from the back of the church. Tyler spun around. Gloria Montgomery stood in the center aisle. Her face was cold, expressionless, the face of a mother who had finally accepted what her son had become. "I found Karen," Gloria said. "I have been paying for her care for 8 years, hiding her from you, protecting her from you." "Mother," Tyler said, "what are you doing?" "What I should have done 20 years ago." Gloria's voice did not waver. "Telling the truth about what you are." Tyler looked around the church, at the faces of his colleagues, his friends, his victims. Everyone was staring at him with horror, disgust, recognition. The doors at the back of the church opened. Detective Robert Harrison walked in with 2 uniformed officers. "Tyler Montgomery," Detective Harrison said, "you are under arrest for fraud, forgery, attempted murder, and the false imprisonment of Karen Bradley." Tyler bolted. He made it 3 steps before the officers tackled him. They wrestled him to the ground in front of the altar, in front of his wife's empty casket, in front of 300 witnesses. "Get off me!" Tyler screamed. "I am innocent. This is a setup." Ashley Grant stood up from the front pew. Her face was white. Her hands were shaking. "You told me she was abusive to you," Ashley said. "You told me you were the victim." Tyler looked up at her from the floor. "Shut up," he snarled. "You are nothing. You were just convenient." The mask was gone now. The charming lawyer had vanished. What remained was something ugly, twisted, barely human. The officers hauled him to his feet, started reciting his rights. That was when the church doors opened one more time. Rachel walked in. She had removed the wig and the sunglasses. She walked slowly, her hand on her pregnant belly, her head held high. 300 people turned to stare. Tyler stopped struggling. His face went slack with shock. "You are dead," he whispered. "You are supposed to be dead." Rachel walked up the aisle, past the pews filled with witnesses, past the empty casket that was supposed to hold her body. She stopped directly in front of her husband. "You told me no one would believe me," she said. "You told me I was crazy. You told me I would never see my daughter again." She looked into his eyes, the eyes of the man she had loved, the eyes of the monster he had become. "You were wrong." Tyler lunged at her. The officers yanked him back. "You cannot do this," Tyler screamed. "I will destroy you. I will destroy all of you." Rachel did not flinch. "You already tried to destroy me," she said. "On that mountain road, when you accelerated toward the cliff, and I had to grab the wheel to save my own life." Tears ran down her face now. Tears of rage, of grief, of relief. "But I am still here, Tyler. I survived. I fought back. And now you are going to spend the rest of your miserable life in a cell." Tyler opened his mouth to respond. Rachel turned her back on him. She walked to where Gloria stood in the aisle, the mother-in-law who had chosen justice over family loyalty. "Thank you," Rachel said. Gloria took her hand. "I am sorry it took me so long," Gloria said. "I should have spoken up years ago." "You spoke up when it mattered. That is what counts." The officers led Tyler out of the church. He was still screaming, still protesting, still insisting on his innocence. No one was listening anymore. Ashley Grant slipped out a side door, her red dress a beacon of shame. She would leave town within the week, another victim of Tyler's lies, though not one who would receive much sympathy. Karen Bradley emerged from the vestry where she had been watching the proceedings. She walked to Rachel, and the two women embraced. "It is over," Karen said, "finally over." "Not over," Rachel replied. "Just beginning. But the hard part is done." Marcus appeared at Rachel's side. His eyes were red. His hands were still shaking. "You faked your own death," he said. "You actually faked your own death." "I did." He shook his head. "I still think a strongly worded letter would have worked." Rachel laughed. It felt like the first real laugh she had had in months. "Your letter can be Plan B," she said. 6 months later, Rachel sat in a small but comfortable apartment with her daughter Hope on her lap. The apartment was not fancy. It was in a modest neighborhood on the east side of the town, but it was hers, paid for with her own money, decorated with things she had chosen herself. Freedom tasted like instant coffee and secondhand furniture. Rachel had never loved anything more. Tyler's trial had ended 3 months ago. Guilty on all counts: fraud, forgery, attempted murder, false imprisonment. The judge had sentenced him to 15 years without possibility of parole. Rachel had attended every day of the trial. She had watched as witness after witness testified to Tyler's crimes. She had watched as Karen Bradley told her story to the jury. She had watched as the mask fell away forever, revealing the monster underneath. She had not felt joy when the verdict was read. Not exactly. What she felt was more like peace. The peace of knowing that justice had been served, that Tyler could never hurt anyone again. Gloria had become an unlikely ally. She visited once a week to see her granddaughter. She had donated half her savings to domestic violence organizations. She had testified against her own son without flinching. "Some people are beyond redemption," Gloria had said. "The best we can do is prevent them from creating more victims." Karen Bradley was rebuilding her life. She had moved into a small house near the beach, far from everything that reminded her of Tyler. She was writing a book about her experience, a warning to other women, a beacon of hope. Rachel had started working again, part-time at first, then gradually more hours as Hope grew older. Her coworkers had welcomed her back with open arms, with apologies for believing Tyler's lies, with promises to do better. Janet Cooper had been the first to apologize. "I told you to start a freedom fund," Janet said. "I should have done more." "You planted a seed," Rachel replied. "That seed helped save my life." Marcus and Teresa had become Hope's unofficial godparents. They babysat every Friday night so Rachel could have time for herself, time to heal, time to remember who she was outside of her marriage. It turned out she was someone strong, someone brave, someone who could survive the worst thing imaginable and come out the other side. On the 6-month anniversary of Tyler's conviction, Rachel stood in front of a support group for women leaving abusive relationships. 20 faces looked back at her. Women of all ages, all backgrounds, all carrying the same haunted expression she had worn 6 months ago. "He told me no one would believe me," Rachel began. "For a while, I believed him. That is what they do. They make you doubt yourself. They make you feel small and crazy and alone." She looked around the room, made eye contact with each woman. "But here's what I learned. You are not alone. There are resources. There are people who will believe you. Legal aid clinics, women's shelters, domestic violence hotlines. You do not need money. You do not need a perfect plan. You just need to reach out." She paused. "And when you cannot fight, survive. Document everything. Tell someone you trust. Wait for your moment. Because abusers always slip up. Always. You just have to be ready when they do." A young woman in the front row raised her hand. She could not have been older than 25. Her eyes were red from crying. "How do you know when you are ready?" she asked. "How do you know when it is safe to leave?" Rachel considered the question carefully. "You might never feel ready," she said. "I certainly did not. But there comes a moment when staying becomes more dangerous than leaving, when the fear of what he might do is smaller than the certainty of what he is already doing." She walked closer to the young woman. "You are stronger than you know. You have already survived things that would break most people. That means you have what it takes to get through this. One step at a time, one day at a time. The young woman nodded slowly. Something shifted in her eyes. Not hope exactly, not yet, but the possibility of hope. Rachel recognized that look. She had worn it herself 6 months ago, sitting in Diane Lawson's cramped office. That night, Rachel put Hope to bed in the small nursery she had decorated herself. The walls were painted soft yellow. Butterflies hung from the ceiling. A rocking chair sat in the corner, the same chair Rachel had used to plan her escape when she was still trapped in Tyler's house. She rocked her daughter gently, watching Hope's eyes flutter closed. "You are going to grow up knowing the truth," Rachel whispered, "about who your father was, about what he did, but you are also going to grow up knowing something else." Hope stirred slightly, her tiny hand wrapped around Rachel's finger. "You are going to grow up knowing that your mother fought for you, that she survived the worst thing imaginable so that you could have a life, a real life, a free life." Rachel kissed her daughter's forehead. "He thought he could bury me," she whispered. He did not realize he was planting a seed. She placed Hope in her crib, turned on the nightlight, stood in the doorway for a long moment, watching her daughter sleep. Then she walked to the living room. On the wall hung a single framed photograph, Rachel at her own funeral. The moment she walked through those church doors, very much alive, ready to reclaim her life. Diane had taken the photo. She said it was the most powerful image she had ever captured. Rachel looked at that photo every day. It reminded her of what she had survived, what she had overcome, who she had become. Not a victim, never a victim. A survivor, a fighter, a mother. Outside, the sun was setting over the city, orange and pink and gold, painting the sky with colors that seemed almost too beautiful to be real. Rachel poured herself a glass of wine, her first since before the pregnancy. She took it to the window and watched the sunset. Tomorrow, she would go back to work. She would take care of patients in the emergency room, the same way she had for 11 years. She would come home to her daughter. She would cook dinner in her own kitchen and sleep in her own bed. Ordinary things, simple things, things she had almost lost forever. Her phone buzzed, a text from Marcus. "How are you holding up?" Rachel smiled and typed back, "Better than I have been in years." "Good. Teresa wants to know if Hope needs anything. Just her crazy uncle to spoil her rotten. Consider it done." Rachel set down her phone and took another sip of wine. The story was not over. Not really. There would be hard days ahead, moments when the memories came flooding back, nights when she woke up sweating, convinced that Tyler was standing over her bed. But there would also be good days. More good days than bad. Hope's first words, first steps, first day of school, all the milestones that Rachel had almost missed. She had fought for those moments, bled for them, nearly died for them, and now they were hers. The church had long since emptied out. The flowers had been donated to nursing homes. The casket had been returned to the funeral home, empty as it had always been. But somewhere, in the back of a supply closet, a red dress hung forgotten. Ashley Grant had left it behind when she fled the church, too ashamed to take it with her. Nobody had bothered to throw it away. It hung there in the darkness, a reminder of what had happened, a symbol of everything that had gone wrong. Red for passion, red for danger, red for the color of the warning signs that Rachel had learned to see too late. But also red for courage, red for the heart that had kept beating when everything else had stopped, red for the blood that connected mother to daughter, survivor to fighter, victim to victor. Rachel finished her wine as the last light faded from the sky. She was alive. Her daughter was safe. Her abuser was in prison. Some problems did solve themselves, just not the way Tyler had planned. Now I need your help to spread this message. If Rachel's strength inspired you, hit that subscribe button and tap the bell so you never miss another story like this one. Drop a comment below. Tell me what moment hit you the hardest. Was it the red dress, at the funeral, the Mountain Road confession, or the moment Rachel walked into her own memorial, alive and ready to fight? I read every single comment. Your stories, your experiences, your words of encouragement, They fuel these videos. Share this with someone who needs to hear it today. A friend going through a hard time, a sister who feels stuck. Anyone who needs to know that even in the darkest moments, the light is coming. And if this story moved you, give it a thumbs up. That simple click helps more people find hope when they need it most. Closing statement. This content was carefully researched, developed, and manually edited by our team to deliver meaningful stories with real-life lessons. We believe in the power of storytelling to heal, inspire, and transform. Every word was chosen with purpose. Every scene was crafted to move you. Thank you for trusting us with your time. Until next time, remember this. He thought he buried her. He did not realize he was planting a seed.